Most kids use a saddle when learning how to ride horse. We didn't have a saddle right away, so I learned how to ride bareback. He was a pony, so his trot was even bumpier than a regular horse's. But that didn't stop me. I practiced and practiced until I could ride him by myself, wherever I wanted to go. He was stubborn, but so was I. I could get him to do anything I wanted, or so I thought. It was the summer before 3rd grade. I'd had Blackie for about 2 years. I was in 4-H, so I went to horse practice once a week. The 4-H instructors help us to refine how we rode. Sometimes they would teach us new things too. The idea was to learn these new riding techniques at horse practice, work on it at home, and then show the instructor how you had improved the next week. One week, they taught us how to ground drive our horses. It was similar to driving draft horses. Instead of sitting in a buggy with the reins, you walk behind your horse. Blackie and I did this at practice, and it worked out just fine. The next day, I decided to practice ground driving. I took Blackie out of the pasture, put his bridle on, and hooked up the long reins. We were all set to go. We walked around for about 10 minutes. Blackie did everything I asked him to. Something must have spooked him because all of a sudden he was running and I hadn't told him to. I was caught off guard and fell to the ground. I kept yelling for him to stop, but he was not paying any attention to me. Although I should have dropped the reins, my instinct was to hold on so that he wouldn't run away. So, he dragged me flopping around behind him across the yard and into the combined wheat field. This is significant because since the field had been combined, all that was left was the bottom half of the wheat. This is not soft stuff. I was being pulled along behind Blackie, but some of my skin wasn't coming with me. We got about a quarter of the way into the field before I was able to pull myself up. I only had one rein in my hands, and I pulled it towards me to try to get Blackie to come to me. He just ran in a circle around me. I was yelling at him to stop. He had been running for a long time, and I had had enough. I don't know how long he ran circles around me, but he finally stopped. I was so mad at him that all I could do was march him to the barn to put him away. But my mom intercepted us before we got there. She told me I had to ground drive him one more time. I said I couldn't. I didn't even want to be near him, I was so mad. But she made me do it again. She said if I put him away, he would win. He'd think he was the boss. He would continue to do it until I showed him I was in charge. So I ground drove him again. This time, I paid more attention and he didn't run off with me dragging behind him. I hadn't wanted to deal with Blackie again. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to do it myself because my whole body hurt from being pulled around like a rag doll. Also, I didn't want to fail. But my mom taught me that I had to persevere. Even when things are tough, you have to push through. Today, I apply that to everything I do. I might not always like what I'm doing, I might not be very good at it, and I might not even want to be doing it. However, I know that I have to push beyond that and just do it. It will pay off in the end.